And now it's time for the really exciting bit because we get to put the plastic over the greenhouse. So explain what's going on now, John.
Okay, so now we're wrapping the plastic. I've wrapped it around the timber here, and we've wrapped it around the greenhouse a little bit along the top. And now we're going to start to try and put tension on the plastic, hold it nice and tight so it doesn't flap too much in the wind, and use these little timber studs, they're like a staple, to hold the plastic onto the timber.
And also you were mentioning before how tricky it is to get the plastic square so that you get even height of plastic all the way through, and so there's been a bit of jiggery pokery behind the scenes.
Yeah, so this starting piece is really difficult to really get that square with the plastic because it wasn't a straight cut edge. If I get this bit wrong, it's going to sort of go downhill or uphill as we go, and tension's not going to be right on our plastic.
So this is what we're using to attach the plastic to the timber. They're kind of called timber studs or staples in the shade cloth section of your hardware shop. So the plastic's been wrapped around the initial piece of timber to hold it, and then we're going to start stapling. Now, so we held the plastic up the top with some G-clamps just to hold it in place to get the height right on the plastic. And there's a lot of adjustment taking place at the moment just to make sure it's really square and we've got an even amount of plastic at the bottom to attach. Lucky John's tall. So what's the height of the greenhouse, John, and the dimensions of it?
The greenhouse is 5 meters long. It's 1.8 of frame and 200 of sleeper, so overall it's 2 meters high.
And the width? What widths are the benches?
The benches inside, each bench is 600 wide.
600 millimeters?
Yeah, 600 millimeters wide. The first bench obviously is at 200, is at sleeper height, and the second bench is at normal bench height, which is 85, so 850
Because this is where I'm going to be able to have a nice base as a potting up table and a packing table. And the other aspect is we've put about, was it 1.2 between the benches, I believe, so that there's a good amount of space for turning and easy entrance and exit to the greenhouse.
Yeah, and allow you to get your trolleys and your carts in here and out with plants on them and so on. Okay, so this is the final piece of timber. We've wrapped the plastic around it. Now we're trying to get it as tight as we can by come around the back here.
To stop it flapping in the wind.
Yeah, we're pulling it in, pulling it nice and tight, and then getting the screw guns. And the screw gun, we've already got pre-drilled holes in the steel. So just straight into the timber, and it's reasonably tight, and then lower down again. Okay, here's a piece of offcut of the greenhouse plastic, and having a look at it, if you get your knife, it's fairly easy to cut. Once you do cut it, it's really resistant to tearing. It's really tough plastic, so this is to stop it getting torn apart if it gets holes in it in the wind and so on.
So we're sandwiching the plastic between the two timbers to stop it flapping, and we're just using regular wood screws to hold that down. So we pre-drilled the holes in this timber, and then we just ugga-dugga them in. Whoops, like so. So what's John up to over here? He's doing a bit of fine tuning, so we're just going to check this out.
Yeah, I'm just getting this.
Okay.
The sleeper's protruding a little bit past the front here, so I can't pull the plastic down nicely around the corner. So I'm just going to trim up this edge just a little bit.
What kind of saw is that, John?
This is a carpenter's saw, a timber saw.
But it's not triangular. So does that make it special?
These
rectangular.
These are a little bit more for cutting fairly direct straight lines. A longer saw isn't quite as accurate for cutting straight lines in carpentry work.
Ooh. Not everything is done with power tools. Trim this up. Treated pine, even though, as I said, not very fond of it. It's very soft and easy to work with, so that's one bonus. As it gets closer, we're going to have to move some of that gravel so it doesn't blunt the saw. John gets out a few impressions. Okay.
Beautiful.
Voila.
We're going to trim that up a bit later on. We're keeping working while we've got daylight.
So here we have the finish of this stage before we put the roof on and the doors, and we see that we weren't sure how we were going to vent this. We were sort of just going along and seeing how we went. We think that the two bottom sections underneath the bench, they're a nice little square area. We could cut out the plastic and replace them with a polycarbonate sheet that could be taken off for venting, and we're going to have a door here that you'll see later. But our problems we've noticed so far are, yes, it does get damaged easily, the plastic, but it doesn't tear, so that's a pro. A little bit of condensation with our timber, so it remains to be seen how that's going to go. And we're not too bad with the wrapping, which was quite difficult to get done. You definitely need two people. A little bit of irregularity here, so any irregularity like that can cause flapping, which then could cause damage. So, and we've got a bit of bunching down the bottom here, we just couldn't avoid it. And another little bit of bunching, not bad here. And there's, even with two people trying really hard, you still get some bunching.